All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is April 17th. We got a bunch of MLB games to jump into today. Like we always do, we're going to jump into each and every game. We'll talk about a side of the game. I'll give you my lean on that. I'll give you my lean on the total, but all my final plays, those will be found in the pinned comment. What I'm actually going to be rolling with, what I feel most confident in, and what I ultimately count towards my record, those will be in the pinned comment, so make sure to check that out. In terms of last night's games, or yesterday's games, thank the heavens for the Brewers. We go 3-3, but that Brewers pick plus 150 on the money line was kind of a long shot. They come through for us and help us be profitable on the day. We had the Red Sox money line, the Rays money line, both those cash. Finally, the Rays get the win. And then in terms of losses, we lost all these kind of just barely. We had the Rays and the Blue Jays under 8.5. Pirates money line, that was only a half unit. That helps too. And then the Pirates and Cardinals under 8.5. And again, that Brewers money line, we'll get a cha-ching for it. Brewers were forever indebted to you guys. But yeah, guys, those are like the pin comment plays that I'm talking about, all right? So we went through every single game on the MLB slate yesterday. We went 3-3 yesterday in official plays or final plays, whatever you want to call it. So if you are new, that is kind of what I am talking about, and all those plays are in the pinned comment. But let's go ahead and jump into today's slate. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. You guys are absolutely going crazy as of late. And then I do have a kind of question for you guys before we get into the slate. We've obviously grown a lot, much in part to, the MLB season starting and people finding the channel for different reasons. But I do want to know what else you guys want to see. Obviously, we're doing the NBA daily videos. We have the MLB video here. We have the Nerfy of the day that we post on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, that type of thing. But what else would you guys be looking for? It doesn't have to be gambling related or I guess sports related. I'd rather it is, but let me know in the comments today the types of videos or something that you think might be cool in the comments, guys. I would much appreciate that, just to figure out, like, what else is there out there that we could be doing and bringing some good entertainment to you guys. Let me know. But let's go ahead and jump into this slate. If you didn't like the first time when I said it, if you didn't like the video the first time when I said it, right? Go ahead and do it right now, guys. Like the video. But let's jump into the first game. We got the Red Sox taking on the Angels. Red Sox catch the win yesterday. That was one of our final plays, but now you're looking at the Red Sox plus 140 on the money line. Total is at 8.5, and you're probably wondering, why are the Red Sox so, underdog in this game? Well, Shohei Ohtani's on the mound. He's going up against Brayan Bello. That is why. So I have to lean, even though the Red Sox are my home team, I have to lean towards the Angels here. Ohtani has a below 0.5 ERA on the season, 2-0. So I do have to just lean that way. I don't think that Brayan Bello's necessarily ready for this. This has obviously been an interesting sort of, I don't want to call it back and forth series, but a fairly evenly matched series, I would say. The scores have been yet to, exceed 3 runs in differential. Obviously, the Red Sox have won each of them, but now the Angels have their stud on the mound. I'm gonna lean towards the Angels. Then in terms of the total, I really don't hate the over in this game. That being said, I've seen an 8 on a couple books across the webs here, so I think that there could be a chance that sportsbooks think this one's going under because they are moving that total down. So I'm gonna lean towards the over here, but if I want the over finally as a final play, I'm probably gonna try and find it at 8 on other sportsbooks. So guys, make sure you're always kind of odd shopping around and like that, getting the best line for yourselves. All right, moving on, we got the Marlins taking on the Giants here. Marlins 8-8 on the season. They got Luzardo on the mound for them. He's 2-0 on the year with a 1.9 ERA. Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants. He's yet to get a win with a 6.3 ERA. In terms of odds here, Miami minus 120 at home. Total is sitting at 7.5. Miami coming off a loss yesterday to Arizona, 5-0. We talked about that too. How I just think Miami proved that they're the better team, but I just couldn't necessarily throw Miami as a money line pick as a final play yesterday, and I'm glad I didn't. They get smoked by Arizona. San Francisco has dropped 3 straight games to Detroit here. I do think Miami bounces back in a decent way here. I like Luzardo on the mound for them. I'm gonna lean towards Miami getting decent money, minus 120 on the money line. In terms of a total, 7.5. I don't know why this is so low. I would have pegged this for an 8.5 type game, right? But it is 7.5, so I'm gonna pull the trigger on the over, at least in terms of lean. Keep an eye on the pin comment to see if it's a final play. But something is scaring me, like Vegas knows something that we don't. So I am gonna lean towards the over, but I'm gonna have to do some extra research if I want to make that a final play, because again, I had this pegged as a high scoring type game, and Vegas is like, oh no, we'll set it at 7.5, which, as we know, is a fairly low total in baseball. All right, moving on, we got the Tigers taking on the Guardians here. Tigers plus 110 at home here, money line. Total is sitting at 8 runs. Boyd on the mound for the Tigers. He's 0-1 with a 4.0 ERA. And then Gaddis on the mound, 0-1 with an 8.5 ERA. here. I don't think that this Guardians team, played their best baseball yesterday, losing 7-6. Detroit won 3 straight. They beat the Toronto in their last game of the series, and then San Francisco, we just talked about, dropped 2 to them. So Detroit has been on a little bit of a winning streak. I don't know if I fully and necessarily totally trust it yet. I think this is a good spot and some good odds to take the Guardians here on the road, money line -125. So that is going to be our lean. And then in terms of the total here, 8.5, 8. It's kind of split on sports books. Either way, I like the over. So obviously, if you're on the over with me, you're going to try and find that 8 number out there on sports books, but I don't hate 8.5 either. I think this one gets into the double digits. Finally, we've seen a little bit, I want to say a little bit of that the Tigers offense kind of coming alive here. 3 runs and then 7 runs, 7 runs. There's been plenty of games to start the year when they had 1, 2, 3 runs, right? Even thinking back to the Boston series, but in their last few games or so, they're averaging, right around 5 runs. So I do like that. All right, Reds taking on the Rays here. Cincinnati +130 at home. Total is sitting at 9 runs right now. In their last game, Cincinnati coming off a loss, a big one to Philly, but boy, oh boy, did we peg that series right. I don't know how I knew that was how that series was going to go, but we pretty much called it. If you watched for the past, 4 days, you know that was the case. I was like, well, Cincinnati takes a big win against Philly, then Philly's going to come back with a big win. That happened. Then all of a sudden I was like, well, now Cincinnati's going to come and beat Philly big. That happened. And then I said yesterday, Philly's probably going to come back and beat Cincinnati big, and that happened. It was kind of a roller coaster of the of a 4-game series there. And then we have Tampa Bay dropping 2 of 3 to Toronto. We finally got the win. We bet money line on Tampa Bay in each of those games. So in Tampa Bay's last 3 with us, we went 1 and 2 with them. That being said, I think you got a good opportunity here for Tampa Bay. Only -140 on the road. I think that they crush the Cincinnati team. I also don't mind the run line here, but it's only +110. I don't think that that's like the ultimate sort of payout. So I don't hate that. If you're considering run line over money line, then go ahead and do it. But I'm just saying, I don't think that +110 really gets me going as much as, more of a definite sort of, hey, let's just get the win, even though it's -140. But in terms of a total here, again, we're looking at 9. It's also 9.5 on plenty of sports books. I think either way, this one gets up into the double digits. All right, moving on, we got the White Sox taking on the Phillies here. White Sox +110 at home. Total is sitting at 8 runs, excuse me, right now. In terms of last time they played was way back last year, maybe a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Chicago blew them out 10 to 3 or something like that. I do think Philly, as good as their offense is, has to come in being like, oh, we remember that. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's not even important in baseball, but I do want to just make that clear that, the last time they played, this was somewhat of a blowout here, and Chicago has not been good. Even Dylan Cease on the mound for them yesterday, they catch an 8-4 loss. So I think that there's some good opportunity here for Phillies to win this one money line here. -115, decent odds in my book. Wheeler on the mound for them. He's not pitching that great. 0-1 with a 4.02 ERA, but a little bit better than Lance Lynn here. 0-1 with a 7.31 run ERA. So I'm going to lean towards the Phillies to win this one. -115, I think you have good odds. Again, maybe I'm putting too much stock into the fact that, hey, this team blew us out. Let's come in with a little chip on our shoulder. Maybe that's me, hypothesizing a little bit too much, but I do kind of think that that has somewhat of value here. Then in terms of the total, 8 runs, I don't think that this one is going to be that high scoring, but 8 seems kind of low. I could see this one easily being a 9-run game, almost like a 6-3 or a 5-4, which I wouldn't consider a high scoring game, but I am going to lean towards the over ever so slightly. All right, the Royals are taking on the Rangers here. Royals +185 here at home. Total is sitting at 8 runs as well. This Texas team has DeGrom on the mound, who's 1-0 with a 4.3 ERA. They've surprised me. They're 9-6 on the year. On the mound for the Royals is Lyles. He's 0-2 with a 5.19 ERA here. Texas coming off of a win against Houston yesterday, a 9-1 win in Atlanta. Kansas City got swept by Atlanta in their last series. I don't really trust this I keep saying Atlanta. This Kansas City team, but I will say Texas on the money line does not look too great. -204. Definitely not considering that. And then even their run line, -120 or even more. So I don't like that either. I think what I'm actually going to lean towards, and this might be a crazy one here, is going to be Kansas City run line for even odds. I think that that's where the money is taking me in terms of what looks like that makes the most analytical sense. But again, I don't think that this is a really good spot for them. I think DeGrom on the mound, and obviously Texas can drop a bunch of runs on anyone's head at any given moment offensively. So I'm probably going to stick away from this, but in terms of a lean, kind of process by elimination, I'm going to lean towards Kansas City run line there. Total, again, sitting at 8 runs right now. I do think that this one ends up going up and over, and I think we've called all over so far on this video, so little nerve-wracking, but we're taking it game by game here. Moving on, we got St. Louis taking on the Diamondbacks. Cardinals at home, -155 on the money line. Total is at 8.5. Jack Flaherty on the mound for the Cardinals, 1-1 on the season with a 1.76 ERA. I didn't know his ERA was that low until researching for this game. And then we have Kelly on the mound for the Diamondbacks. They are 9-7, but he is 0-2 with a 4.11 ERA. Arizona coming off of that, we just talked about earlier in the video, coming off of that win against Miami, and St. Louis coming off of a win against Pittsburgh yesterday, in which they crushed our hopes and dreams. We did have Pittsburgh for half unit on the money line here. I think that this Arizona team can keep up with this Cardinals team here. So I actually am going to take the money here and lean Arizona Diamondbacks here money line +145. I think you're getting some decent odds there. The St. Louis team, it's not necessarily like they've impressed me or anything like that. So I think that these two teams can keep it close, meaning if there's any sort of edge that the Diamondbacks can capitalize on, go and do that. And then we're looking at a +145 winner. In terms of a total 8.5, finally, I think we're getting to an under, guys. I think this one probably sits right around 7 runs, or 6 to 7, or even 8 runs, but keep it at 8 runs. Don't go to 9. Let's lean towards the under. All right, we got the Astros taking on the Blue Jays here. Astros +108 on the money line at home. Total is sitting at 8 runs right now. Astros have Javier on the mound for them. He's 1-0 with a 4.2 ERA. Gosman's on the mound for the Blue Jays. He's 1-1 with a 1.35 ERA. Why do I feel like he's pitched a million times to only have 2 decisions here? Toronto coming off that loss to Tampa Bay. We were on the right side of that yesterday. And then Houston, we already talked about Texas pummeling them 9-1 yesterday. I think this Houston team, obviously injuries dependent, haven't really played as well as we would like to see them play. Altuve's still on the IR here, or the IL, excuse me. So I do think that, it's kind of risky. That offense changes so much when he's not in, but I do think the money here is good for them to take a win at home. So I am going to lean towards Houston +108 at home. In terms of that total 8 runs, I'm going to go ahead and look at an over. I think this one creeps near 10 plus runs today. All right, Rockies taking on the Pirates here. Freeland on the mound for the Rockies. He's got a sub-1 ERA and a 2-0 record on the season. Then Rich Hill on the mound for the Pirates, 0-2 with a 7.2 ERA. This Rockies team is, wow, it was an unintentional pun I was about to say. I was going to say this Rockies team has been pretty rocky as of late, and just to start the year. Didn't even realize I was making that pun, but this Rockies team has been rocky. However, I do think, obviously with Freeland on the mound, pitching well to start the season, I do like the Rockies in this one. I can't really trust that Pittsburgh team. I will take a chance on them and take a shot because they've shown a couple times that they can beat good teams. I mean, they have a positive record, 9-7, right? But I don't necessarily trust them unless we're getting good money for them. +125 on the money line isn't really doing it for me, so I'm going to lean towards the Rockies here. Again, -137, -140-ish. Rockies coming off of, 5 straight losses. They got to win at some point. They've had a kind of a tough schedule playing Cardinals and then the Mariners. Then another thing that I do like in this game, 11.5 is the total. And I can't believe I'm saying it, I do like the over in this game. Obviously, we know about Colorado, but then meteorologist Ev over here is looking at this game and seeing 8-mile-an-hour wind blowing directly out to center field here. 71 degrees in Colorado, mostly sunny. It's an over-type ball game. Whether or not we pull the trigger as a final play, that's still to be determined because that is super high. Asking for 12 runs, yikes. All right, moving on, we got the Padres taking on the Braves here. Padres +136 at home. Total is sitting at 8.5 in this one. The Braves, obviously, we talked about coming off of a sweep against Kansas City in a 3-game series, but even before that, they swept Cincinnati. So 2 kind of garbage ball clubs. I'm not going to give it too much credit, but nonetheless, to go 2 series in a row, 6 games, not even drop one whatsoever, is fairly impressive. San Diego only caught 1 win against Milwaukee in their 4-game series here. If it wasn't for the money being so good on the Braves side of things, I might lean Padres +136, but -140 for the Braves money line here. I don't think that that's a bad spot for them. I don't think you're overpaying or anything like that. They have Fried on the mound for them. He's 2.7 ERA, and then Weathers on the mound for the Padres. He also has a 2.7 ERA. But yeah, I think that anytime you can get Braves money line against a team that is a below 500 type team for minus 140-ish. I do know you're paying a lot of juice, but I still think it's somewhat worth it. Now, the only reason that I would not consider run line is because you're not getting the best of odds there either. Minus 1.5, it's only plus 115. I'd rather just pay the juice. I know that that might go against a lot of things that people might practice or anything like that, but I don't like not getting a huge return when we're taking minus 1.5. When you're asking to win by 2 runs, you should be getting some bang for your buck, and I don't feel like we're doing that necessarily today, so I'm going to lean towards Braves here money line. In terms of a total, it's at 8.5. I think this one stays under just ever so slightly. All right, Oakland taking on Chicago Cubs here. Total is sitting at 8 runs. Oakland on the money line is plus 128. They got Muller on the mound, 5.5 ERA here. Wozniacki's on the mound for the Cubs with a 7.5 ERA. I'm looking at the over right away. I know I mentioned the total prior to anything. These two pitchers don't really seem like they can keep the ball necessarily in the park or keep offenses from going off here. So I'm going to lean towards the over. And then I think the obvious one here is going to be the Cubs money line. Minus 134 is really, really good money, or good odds if you ask me, taking on this Athletics team who are 3-13 on the season. All right, Mariners taking on the Brewers here. Brewers actually favorites in this one, minus 141. They got Burns on the mound. He's got a 5.19 ERA. Flexen's on the mound for the Mariners. He has not had the best start of the season whatsoever. He is an 0-2 record here with an 8.74 ERA. Mariners plus 132 again on the money line. Brewers are minus money. They are favorites. I wish we could pull the trigger on that. I don't necessarily like it. I do think that this one could be an over type game, so I'll jump right out and say that 7.5 looks pretty good to me. But what I also like here is Seattle plus 1.5 on the run line. I think that this one goes over, but also kind of stays in a, I guess I could say a close game format type of thing. So I'm gonna lean towards Mariners run line. I know it stinks to go against the Brewers, who I literally just said I'm forever in debt to, but hey, we got to take it game by game, pitch by pitch, swing by swing, and we're going Mariners run line here and the over. All right, Dodgers taking on the Mets for a final game of the slate. Here we get Dustin May on the mound, 1-1 with a 1.47 ERA. David Peterson on the mound for the Mets with an 0-2 start to the year, 4.91 ERA. Dodgers minus 155 at home on the money line. Total is sitting at 8.5. This Mets team kind of surprising me now, winning, 5 out of their last 6 games. 4 games in a row, but then I look at the competition. San Diego, who hasn't really looked all that great, and Oakland, who obviously we know what they are, but another surprising thing on the other side is the Dodgers. They do not look like, one of the top, I would say, top 4 or 5 teams in the league by any means right now. So I think this Mets teams can keep up with them. I'm leaning towards Mets money line here. If this were to be a final play, it'll probably be a half unit, but I do like Mets money line for some serious plus money, plus 135. In terms of the total, though, we're looking at an 8.5. I think this one sticks around 7 or 8 runs, so I'm going to lean towards the under. And that is going to wrap it up for today's baseball video, guys. Hope you guys do enjoy. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.